and led that conversation, and I don't want to misspeak, so we'll have to get that information to you. Oh, Christine?
Grading guidelines are on the curriculum website too, so that may at least provide an outline of what expectations.
Okay, if a parent still has concerns after speaking with the teacher and principal, what should they do?
So if we think about chain of command, if you've spoken to the teacher, then the principal, the person after the principal would be the person who supervises the principal. So at the elementary level, Margaret Cerna was here. I saw her. Now she's, oh, there she is Margaret. If it's at the secondary level, high school, middle school, or one of our K-8s, it would be Dr. Sakos. That would be the next step in the process.
Does anyone have another card? Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Menzel.
Thank you. I just want to give a shout out to our nutrition services team. They are awesome, and they'll tell you that, but because it's team awesome, but they are really, truly fantastic, so it'll be a great presentation, but I want to thank them for all they do since I had the mic and you're here to present today. And thank all of you for being here. We really, truly appreciate your partnership and the time that you invest in supporting SUSD and the students, yours and others, so that they can be successful.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm going to present up here because I've got a slideshow. So I think it's kind of weird right here for you to turn sideways and me be talking to the side of your faces. So we are SUSD Nutrition Services, otherwise known as Team Awesome. So yes, we are going to tell you we are awesome because we are awesome. And I have a lot of the team here with me. So anybody from Nutrition Services, please stand. I'm going to give you a quick introduction. So up here in the denim dress in the front is our admin support coordinator, Cindy Byers. So if you call us, that's the first person you're going to get. Then we have Michelle Johnson, who is an operations manager who oversees kind of the northern half of our schools. We have Samantha here. She's an intern with us from U of A, doing her internship for, gosh, you're with us for a lot of weeks. So, and she's doing some good projects. 16 weeks. And then in the very back, we have Brooke Phillips. She's our operations manager over finance. And then Amy Morgan, who is our compliance specialist. We have Rachel Holliday, who is our nutrition support coordinator, or specialist, I guess. And then we have Camille Laschak, who is our operations manager over menu planning. And let's give a special shout out to Camille because this is her first day with SUSD. So what a great place for her to be, right? Now, they told me this is going to work. This is our new logo, by the way, that Rachel designed, and I think it's really kind of cute. We like the colors. It kind of talks about freshness. It talks about, we're dining services. I want to talk to you a little bit about SUSD, too. In nutrition services, we run a multitude of federal programs. It's not just school lunch. Every one of these programs has its own rules, regulations, applications, you name it, government red tape. We have the National School Lunch Program, School Breakfast Program, After School Snack Program, At-Risk After School Supper Program, Summer Food Service Program, Child and Adult Care Food Program, and we run the USDA Foods Program. So we have a lot going on in nutrition services. So when we say we're busy, we're busy. It's okay, Margaret. I'm now thinking, God, did I turn my phone off? I'm going to give you a little bit of data about nutrition services. So for last school year, we served about 1.3 million lunches. We served 332 breakfasts, 168 suppers, 168,000, 100,000 after-school snacks. And so it was basically about 1.93 million meals last year. That's about 11,000 a day when you look at a typical school year. In addition, we served 81,000 meals in summer food service alone. That is exclusive of the 1.93 million meals. We did about $1 million in a la carte sales, but we started a la carte sales later. We started in October last year. We anticipate to be about 1.9 million in a la cartes this year. We did $2 million in our contracted meal program. And I'm going to talk about O Catering a little bit later. So we'll get back to that number in a little bit and what the impact to nutrition services on that. Right now, we are sitting at 27% free and reduced. 2 days ago, we were sitting at 29.9. We had, yesterday was our day that expiring applications expired. And if they had not reapplied, then they went to a paid status. So I expect that number to come back up again. I can tell you we're typically sitting at about 23, 24%. So we are higher than normal, and part of that is there is a new qualifier to become directly certified from the state, and that's the Medicaid and Access. Yes, Margaret. Okay, yeah. Yeah, during the pandemic, you know, everybody went to all students being free, so people didn't fill out applications. So we went down to about 16% free and reduced. And that had a very negative impact on Title I funding, because Title I funding is tied to the school's free and reduced percentage. So it was really, I mean, I have to tell you, poor Sean, and Margaret, they were calling and they were sending all kinds of alternate income forms, trying to get people to give us information so we could qualify those schools for title. So yes, it is important for people to fill out the free and reduced application. It's more than just meals. It's a big benefit to the district. We also qualify for certain grants based on district and school free and reduced. So typically about 42% of our free and reduced eligible will participate in breakfast, and 70% of our free and reduced eligible will participate in lunch. Why that drops down is in high school. It's hard to get high school kids to eat lunch at school. I don't know why, they just don't. It's a nationwide issue. We have 5 free breakfast sites. We have 22 free at-risk supper sites. 7 of them are in the district, but 15 are outside our district that we send to every single day. And then also, I want you to note that students who are approved for free and reduced get free breakfast and lunch every single day in Scottsdale. So even reduced, we don't charge the copay here. We employ about 150 team members, give or take. I will tell you this year, I said I think 60% were filled, 95% of those positions are filled, and it might even be a little bit more right now. So woohoo! So this is a good year for Scottsdale. I'm not here about to cry. I'm actually in a really good mood. We do run a fiscally sound and sustainable operation, and we have about an $11 million annual budget. During the pandemic, that went up a little bit because we had additional revenues because of the pandemic. How many of you here understand that nutrition services operates independently of the district's budget? Yeah, we do not get district funding at all. We operate off our revenues. So all of our expenses, everything we do, from equipment to food to salaries to benefits, all have to be paid out of the revenues we earn. So not only are we independent, we also contribute to the district through indirect costs. So last year we did right under $1.2 million that we gave back to the district and that's typical. That's about what we typically run at, you know, from 1.1 to 1.2, depending on how many meals were served, because it's all based on a rate for the meal, and it's 25% of the federal revenue we receive. So not just every revenue, it's reimbursable meals. I will tell you this year the state changed our data point, and we are going to be at 18% is what they're saying we pay. So for 1 year, we actually get a little bit of a reprieve, but then we'll probably be back up to 25. We do have, I was going to bring one. We have a 48, it might be, Brooke, is it longer than 48 pages now? Oh, 48 plus 2. So 50-page profit and loss statement every single month. We track by school. We track every single data point you can imagine, so we know how we're doing, where we're bleeding, where we're successful, where we can make changes, where we can look for inspiration for somebody who's doing great. And we run it, we are basically an enterprise business running within an educational environment. I also like to put this that we're associated with a lot of allied organizations, especially the School Nutrition Association, but a lot of other associations as well, and local. We participate in, a lot of webinars and meetings with the local food banks, with local food advocates, and people are looking at legislation for school meals. All right, so menu planning. The two back of Camille, this is what you're going to be doing. So she's going to learn right here what her job is. We process and develop a multitude of menus. I don't need to read them off, but you name it. We just don't do a breakfast, lunch, and snack menu. We have them based on the type of school, the grade levels, you know, if they're a peanut-free campus, if they're not, if it's what federal program it falls under. There's a lot of menus that we process. We also participate in the 504 process for students who have life-threatening allergies. And I can tell you this year it's been a lot. And they've been pretty significant, like things we've really had to do some major menu revisions for. We're seeing a huge rise in celiac. So that is something we're seeing a lot of. And you know, that's not just a menu, that's talking about cross-contamination, training staff, everything. So that's what we're in charge of as well. We work with the nurses and the assistant principals on that. We track nutrient analysis and maintain an allergen list on all items. Then we ensure that the menus meet all of the proper requirements. And I'm going to show you something. I'm going to put the microphone down for a minute. By the way, I hate talking on a microphone. I'm a hand talker. I'm Italian. So this is my favorite little thing to bring you. This is the documentation needed for a federal audit for 1 week's worth of menus at one school. I now send it digitally, thank God, but we have to keep it for 5 years plus the current year. So yeah, that is a lot of information just for 1 week's worth of menus at one school. So when people say to us, can't you just buy this? No, I can't, because it doesn't give us all the requirements we need. Like we need child nutrition fact labels. We need that are specific to our industry. We need so many things on file. You can't just go to Whole Foods and buy this like wonderful little nitrate-free hot dog. So yeah, it's crazy the stuff that we have to go through. So I wanted you to know that. Also that we're required to meet specific targets for calorie, sodium, fat. Well, it's all fat. I don't know why I wrote saturated fat. It's all fat. And now in the new regulations coming up, we will have a sugar requirement that we have to meet certain sugars. We've always wondered why we didn't have to. And now in the new proposed rules, it'll be there. And we must be trans fat free. And we must meet vegetable subgroups. So each week we have to have a certain amount of servings offered in these 5 categories. Oh, I guess I'm advancing, that's right. Sorry, he was like, oh, tell me. So I was gonna give you a few pictures. These are our photos of our food, so I'm not giving you stock photos here. Thanks to Rachel, she's a great photographer. So this was a turkey sandwich lunch, but we did do diced mangoes, and we do them quite often. So you do have fun, fruits and vegetables. I do want to tell you that we worked with the Scottsdale Nutrition Initiative, and we cleaned up labels. We also looked at like a lot of the brands you know. Like we have Tyson, Jenny-O, Gold Kiss Farms, we have Brookwood Farms, we have, oh gosh, throw out some. Yeah, Yoplait, you name it. We've got what you see in the grocery store is what we're serving. We have a huge variety of entrees every day. In our middle schools and high schools, we have 20 plus entrees daily. And in our elementaries, we have 5 to 6 daily. So if your kid says all they have, they never serve anything but pizza, they're wrong. They may eat pizza all the time and chicken, but we do serve other things. And there's always salads and bistro packs and what have you. A wide variety of fresh fruits and vegetables. And they can choose unlimited fruits and veggies. They can't have unlimited milk, juice, rolls, but they can have unlimited fruits and veggies. So if a child comes up like in a meal consists of an entree and at least 1 fruit or veggie is the minimum that's required. However, they can choose if they want an apple, an orange, baby carrots, broccoli. God, I love them when they actually take broccoli. A side salad. They want to take applesauce, and then they have a milk and a roll. They can have all of that for a whole meal if they want, for the same price. So they can take a lot of sides. Sure, they can. All we ask is that they actually eat it or try. I understand that sometimes you can't get to it, but when you see a pre-K take 3 apples and 5 oranges, they're not going to be able to eat that. So we try and kind of get them to take a little less this time. But sure, they can take it. We do the NAE, no antibiotic ever chicken. Our turkey is all natural and reduced sodium, whole grains plentiful, and our cookies. So have you seen our cookies? Do you remember cookies back in the day? They were like the size of your head. They're like maybe not much bigger than the top of that microphone now. They're quite small, and they don't and we can't have an a la carte that exceeds 13 grams of added sugar. I think these are actually way less than that too. Rachel, I can't remember offhand. It's way less than 13 grams of added sugar. We also adhere to the strict guidelines for the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2010. I cannot believe that is 13 years ago, because it's emblazed in my head as like such a dramatic year for us, and it will stay there forever. We also use reduced fat cheeses. Here's a picture of some of the sandwiches, some of our little side items. So with the sandwiches there, those are for middle school, high school, but they do also serve maybe a turkey sandwich individually at an elementary, or a ham sandwich. So it would look like that, but it's maybe not all of those at one time. Middle school, high school has definitely more selections. The little kumquat below was actually an elementary. I'll get to that. So we try to make it fun. So look at the little kumquats. It was April Fool's Day, and we called it Honey, We Shrunk the Orange. And they got orange wedges with a little kumquat, and there was a little sign that explained how to eat them. So I have a student to the right that you actually eat the skin, and how like tart and sweet they are. And so it was kind of fun. They were all making faces and having a great time. We did the pink glow pineapples, and then we also did dragon fruit on, I think it was like Love a Dragon Day. So appreciate a Dragon Day. Yeah. And they loved it, yeah. So the Nutrition Initiative is part of our healthy menus. We piloted a program in Pueblo in 2019, and then we expanded it to all schools in 2020, just about in time for what to hit, a pandemic. So it kind of, people forgot about this. What our vision was we wanted to do better. We wanted to improve the quality of our foods and our snack items. We wanted to be collaborative and flexible with our community, listen to all perspectives, market, we'll talk about marketing later, involve our students, but the biggest thing is to look for cleaner labels. I hate to use the word clean label. I think cleaner labels is the way to look at it. I don't know everybody has their own definition for what a clean label is. We were just looking to get rid of a lot of artificial ingredients and bring that ingredient deck down from like 24 listings to like 7. And then we also asked industry to help us achieve the goal, and they have risen to the challenge, and they are absolutely looking at school foods and taking out a lot of the items we're going to talk about next. So in Scottsdale, we have no MSG. No high fructose corn syrup. That was not easy. That's why you didn't see peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for a long time, because we couldn't find bulk jelly that didn't have high fructose corn syrup. So that's why it was peanut butter and apple butter. We still make those, but we'll also have our the peanut butter and jelly, the small Uncrustable, because that has a jelly that does not have high fructose corn syrup in it. We do no artificial food dyes. That's a biggie. There's things like, to make a unicorn parfait, it was so cute, but it had these like little like specks in the whipped cream that made it look all like fancy, but they had artificial food dyes, so we couldn't use that. So there's things you might not see that you see other districts doing that we just don't do because of the dyes. We use no BHT or BHQ except pepperoni, because we cannot find a pepperoni in the world without it. Maybe if you're in Italy and you're seeing somebody who's like making their own like pepperoni like in their like cave, I don't know, in the side of, but we can't get it here. No TBHQ, which is, it's a preservative, adds to the life and freshness. We're nearly nitrite and, it's nitrate and nitrite free. Sorry, I said nitrite and nitrite. We might actually be there with the hot dog now, right? Yeah, so we have an all beef hot dog that we were able to procure, that we've started bringing in on the last rotation of hot dogs that has no nitrates or nitrates in it. And then I think we can officially say we have no nitrates or nitrites in our school district. That's huge. And like I said, our a la carte does not exceed 13 grams of added sugar. These are our photos of our meals. You know, a lot of them are kid-friendly meals, but they're the healthier options by using your reduced fat cheese, your whole grain breads. You know, our Domino's pizza is not the Domino's pizza that gets delivered to your home. It's actually manufactured just for schools. It's called Smart Slice. And it's a whole grain crust with reduced fat cheese, a lot less cheese than normal, lower in sodium. It has like just a certain amount of pepperoni. If you get the pepperoni option, then look at, we've got our Caesar salads, we've got our veggies. I think our meals look good. I thought this picture was cute of the Labor Day parfait. This is actually our parfait, and we make house-made granola because that way it can be nut-free. So it's nut-free across all campuses. We also added this year the pot stickers and the lo mein, all whole grain. So, oh, we love it too. Oh, I'm glad she likes it. Good. It's we love that one. We've been trying for a while to get it in, and they were going through a couple versions of it. It used to be thick and kind of chewy, and we're like, oh, that's not very good. And they finally came up with the manufacturer came up with a thinner skin on it, and we love it. Another parfait at the top. This is a fun one. It's our apple harvest parfait, and it's got the canned apples, but we mix it with apple butter and cinnamon and spices with the parfait, and that's a great fall one. The one on the right is a bowl that we worked out. We have not served it in schools yet, but I'm going to bring you back to this one in a while as to why we have it there. But it's more like a Mediterranean type bowl with ancient grains and tzatziki. I want to talk to you about the value of school meals. So I had to edit this. A single small fast food French fry, last time I gave this presentation last year, was $2.69. It's now $3.29 plus tax. A full elementary lunch costs you $2.85. A full middle school, high school lunch costs $3.10. So think about that. A small fry costs way more than what an entire meal costs at SUSD. I don't even think you can make one from home anymore for what we charge. And on a side note, breakfast is $1.50 in our elementary and $1.75 in our secondaries. And yes, we serve breakfast at all schools in SUSD. Nutri-Slice menus. How many of you gone to Nutri-Slice to look for the menus? Okay, so you're just going to simply type in, you can even just Google Nutri-Slice Scottsdale, but it's scottsdalenutrislice.com. It's going to pull up this menu. You're going to look for your site. When you pull up your site, you can pull up breakfast, lunch, snack, supper, whatever they have, but also there's a lot of information. So if you look at some of these drop downs, like the 3 dashes, things like that, you're going to be able to find the dietary information on foods. You're going to be able to sort by allergens. So if you were to click on, let's say, egg, it's going to actually put a red line through every item that has egg in it. If you've got wheat and you want to take out wheat, it's going to be able to sort that for you. So if you have a student that has a sensitivity to something, it'll take those items off the menu. So if you ever have questions about it, call us. We'll walk you through it. All right, so remember Titan? It's now Link Connect. And I know it was a little bit confusing last year when it went to Link Connect because Link informed us, sorry guys, Link informed us the last day of school. So that was really great to try and get that information out to parents because everybody's like, we're like, peace out, gone for a few months. Nobody was looking at emails that it went to Link Connect. If you had information in the Titan portal, it automatically switched over to the Link portal. It's the same company, it just got bought out by Link. So in Link, what I would tell people is it's free to use, even if you're not loading student accounts on it. Still go on, put your student in there. You can watch the activity. You can pull up what they're purchasing every single day. You can look at all of that information. You can load money on your child's account. There is a small transaction fee, not charged by Scottsdale, it's charged by their third-party vendor. And then also you can apply for free and reduced meal benefits on there. Okay, so this could be a training all in itself. Food sold and served on campus and classroom parties. So in 2014, this actually went into effect, so it's been in effect in Scottsdale schools for 9 years now, that all foods that you use for fundraisers, that you use for like a field day, or let's say you want to do a Donuts for Dads, has to meet these federal regulations. The classroom parties, on the other hand, are exempt from these regulations. However, I encourage you to talk to your school administration because there are some schools that have opted to not allow food into classrooms for parties, and that is a site-based decision, not a nutrition services decision, is site-based. We have some schools that have a huge amount of students with allergies, and that's why they might not want food in the classrooms. I am available, or our team, to ever do trainings on that. And on the back table, I have a little Q&A sheet I'm going to put out there for you guys to bring home with you. And it's got my information on it as well. So Oak Catering. We talked about how we do private parochial, charter, Head Start, clubs. We do a lot. We do $2 million worth of revenue outside our district every day. It's through this Oak Catering. We call it Oak Catering because it's located directly across the street from Coronado High School on Oak, the old, this is going to age me, the old Tonto campus, which was the early childhood campus, and now I think it's community ed now, is there. So think about this. They do $2 million worth of revenue. Our total revenues are $10 million. So out of this one piece of business, we do 20% of our revenue. We go anywhere from Litchfield. We used to go to Sacaton to up into Cave Creek, Fountain Hills. We go all over the valley every single day, 12 months out of the year with meals. It's got a high profit margin because we tell them what we're going to charge, and they pay it. And actually, Ryan's husband's my operations manager who oversees that whole area, has done a great job with it. But what it does is people will say, well, why are you doing this? A, there's a need. Kids need food. They need healthy food. What do we do every day? We do that so we can help these organizations meet those needs. Instead of going to Costco and buying a whole bunch of snacks, we can bring them after-school snacks that are like apples and string cheeses and what have you, or different types of foods. It also brings back that bottom line profit to our district to help our kids and to be able to enhance the variety and the quality of the food we have. So it's a win-win for everyone. Also, over at Oak right now, we're working on some renovations. It's slow going, but it is getting there. Brian's laughing because she probably hears it every night, like, are they ever going to get this done? Is we are working to make it not a central kitchen because it's never been designed to be such, but somewhere where we might be able to make our granola for all the schools centrally. We might bake all of our homemade rolls centrally. Doing our own dressings, because we would love to get away from packaged dressings and being able to make our own, maybe with Greek yogurt and fresh dill. Wouldn't it be great to work with the school gardens on doing some of that stuff and getting it out to our schools from this? So, school meals moving forward. We still have some supply chain and manufacturer issues. They're not huge. I will anticipate a little bit of a glitch when the new regulations go into effect. And we will talk about that a little bit coming up. So the meal, right here, the meal pattern, the new proposed rules. I don't know if you've heard, but the USDA has been out with public comment right now on the new proposed rules, and it will be addressing stuff like chocolate milk in schools. It will be addressing the sodium targets, which are a challenge. I don't care about sugar. Sugar, we can make that work easy. We can even make the chocolate milk stuff work easy. The sodium's going to be tough. They are looking at having no more than 770 milligrams of sodium per meal. So milk has 105 milligrams of sodium. Bread, it's one of the, not only is it part of the science of baking bread, it's also a preservative in bread, is sodium. So when you add so we did an analysis, a turkey sandwich, no cheese, turkey sandwich, baby carrots with a 1 ounce container of light ranch, green beans, milk, and an apple exceeded 770 milligrams of sodium. So it's going to be rough. And when I say supply chain and manufacturer challenges, those are the manufacturers are going to have to do R&D. We have specialized foods made specifically for school meals. You can't find these anywhere out there in the marketplace, which doesn't make any sense to me. So well, yes. So public comment closed. We have not found out what USDA's determination is going to be. So it is a big push by the current administration at USDA to go to these targets. We do have several years to meet them. So the reality is your administration at USDA could change in a year and a half. So I don't know that Secretary Vilsack, he's now in his 3rd term, I don't know that he will stay for that. And if that were the case, it could potentially flip back and say, okay, we're going to lift those standards for you. We don't know. I think we have 2 years to hit those. The second. It's technical. Okay, now you're going to ask me to say this publicly. So it's technical assistance on our review. It is not a critical finding, and there is no financial hit to us. It's technical assistance. So if you ask me, kids have to eat food. They have to like it. And if it tastes awful, and here's another thing that I think is a huge thing that every food service department out there is screaming about. If you already took away our fat, now you're taking away our sodium, you took away flavor, what are we going to start seeing? Those clean labels are going to be gone. They're going to start adding sugars, they're going to start adding additives, and they're going to start adding artificial flavors back into foods, which is not what we want to do. So I think you're going to see there's going to be a big pushback, and I think manufacturers are very aware of it, and they're kind of dragging their feet a little bit on doing the R&D. So it'll be interesting, because then you look at this too. Look at what is also one of our biggest challenges right now, rising costs, but decreasing revenues, and I'll tell you why. In the pandemic, everybody was free. So everybody who came through got a free meal. We also got the highest reimbursement you can get, which is the free summer food service reimbursement rate, even during the school year. So it was $4.51 is what we received in reimbursement from the federal government for every single lunch that came through. Last year, they had the Keep Kids Fed Act when the free meals expired, and they added an additional 40 cents to breakfast reimbursement and an additional 15 cents to breakfast. So if you were a paid student and you were at 45-cent reimbursement was normal, they would add a 40 cents. So we were getting 85 cents for a paid student. We weren't getting the $4.51. We were getting 85 cents, but we were also collecting cash at $2.85. So we lost a little bit of money. Reimbursement rates came out this year. They got all excited because they said it was an 8% increase. Well, an 8% increase over pre-pandemic. So for the paid reimbursement right now, paid, is 48 cents. So I get 48 cents for every paid student that comes through, but we charge $2.85. But the free reimbursement is $4.41. So our revenues keep going down, and we haven't increased prices. But labor has gone through the roof. You know, where we used to be paying $12, $13 an hour 2 years ago, we're now paying $16, $17 an hour for those people. And then, of course, you see that then increase at every level from there on up. Mm-hmm. So, okay, so the rationale was, and that's a very good question, because there's two parts to it. In 2018, we did not take we decided to negate the 40-cent copay. Said they don't need to pay it. What we saw was an increase in participation in those kids. So we were getting the $2.80-something reimbursement for them instead of getting nothing and them not eating. So we actually, there was about a $38,000 loss at that time in the actual collection, but we saw an exponential increase in the amount of revenue we received because they came through and they ate and we got the federal reimbursement. Now, there's a difference as Arizona, since we were already doing that, Arizona at the end of, was it January of last year, decided that the state of Arizona was going to pick up the reduced copay. So they are doing that for the next year and a half, and we'll see what happens after that. We believe it will continue, that they are going to, because it's been a nationwide discussion, like reduced, like that category shouldn't even be there. It should be free or it should be paid. And there's only 3% of the population actually ever apply or qualify for reduced. So we want to see that go away anyway. So no problem. But as you can see, we have some work to do. I mean, food costs have gone through the roof. Yes. Marketing budget? No such thing. It's a no. We have it in our whatever we can afford out of our revenues. We don't. We kind of do. We've been working on it, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We've started working on it, and that's Rachel. Well, Rachel's doing most of our marketing. A lot of it is working with our communications department and trying to get things out. It is difficult in schools to get stuff out. It is. It is very difficult. So we've been working, and we'll kind of go through that in a little bit coming up, and I'll get back to your question there. Staffing challenges, they're still there. I would say that we have most of our positions filled. It's difficult to find people who know how to cook anymore, to read recipes, scale large recipes, and to cook. Speed scratch is maybe something they know how to do, but gone are the days when people hand bread, chicken and make homemade rolls. It doesn't exist. So as we try and get back to more scratch cooking, you've got to train your staff and you've got to get them the tools necessary, and our infrastructures aren't set up to go to scratch cooking. They've been like kind of heating kitchens for decades. So that's something we're looking at as well as we start to do some renovations. We have some environment and environmental opportunities. Environment, we're looking at adding some more biodegradable or paper options instead of plastic and styrofoam everywhere. It is about 4 times the cost, but some of the items have come down and we're getting out an RFP to look for some pricing in some, kind of more eco-friendly packaging moving forward. And then in the school environment, we are looking at doing some renovations of some dining spaces and starting with maybe a singular high school and saying, what could we do there to make it more inviting for kids? Because high school kids just don't eat with us. Maybe we make it look more collegiate. And it costs a lot of money, but it's worth it in the long run because it's the right thing to do for our kids. We're looking for innovative solutions. It's tough. Even though we're fully staffed, we can't put in probably as many people as we really need now that everybody's at one lunch in a high school. And all of a sudden, you've got 1,900 to 2,200 kids coming out. 3 people just doesn't cut it. But can we afford to put too many more? I don't know, but so maybe it's reimbursable vending machines where we fill it with reimbursable meals in it. We are actually exploring things like that. Then also healthy free meals for all with a question mark. There's, I think, 8 states right now, 7 or 8, that have passed a state law that says all meals are free for all kids and that it's being funded by the state. It is still talk in the federal government. I think that movement becomes slow. Once you see states starting to pass it, then they push it to a local. I know that there is legislation that's going to be dropped, a proposed legislation dropped by 2 senators, state legislators here in Arizona in December. I don't know where that's going to go. I think that's a big lift in the state of Arizona. I don't know. They can't even... Yes, I'm saying this out loud. They can't even fund education the way they should. I don't understand how they're going to fund free meals for kids, but we'll see how that goes. We watch that pretty closely. We're pretty up on all of the legislation out there, so we'll keep you posted. Yes. Yeah, you probably had dish machines and a dish room person. We don't even have those in most of our schools. We don't. So, and then it's a you've got to have somebody on staff, which is fine. You've got to have somebody who stands there where they scrape them out. You've got to have the tray where they return it. You just can't do it in a 3-compartment sink and keep up with it. So it is nice. I can tell you that you replace silverware 4 times a year because I had them when I was a food service director in Mississippi. 4 times a year you have to replace all of your silverware because it all ends up in the trash eventually. But I'm not saying I'm against those. We just don't have those infrastructures. Yes. And lunch is already, every year we have something taken away from lunch. Lunch is, that's a whole nother subject. They need to have time. They need to have time at their seat. You go watch a first grader try and sit down, they've got to spin around. They've got to like do this with their hair. They've got to rearrange everything. They've got to try and open stuff. By the time they actually have time to eat, you're talking 5 minutes or less. And their bites are not the size of our bites. They're like this big, or they don't have their teeth. I feel like lunch it's a challenge for me because I see like, I'll hear somebody say, well, we only reduced lunch by 2 minutes. It's like, but last year was a minute. The year before that was 3 minutes. The year before that was 5 minutes. I have 2 high schools now that have gone to one lunch, and it doesn't start till 12:40 in the afternoon. That's rough. But I also get where they're coming from. There's incredible pressure for instructional minutes in compressed days. So it's not easy for them as well. It's not like I can just like wave my magic wand and say, you must give me a half an hour for kids to eat. It's not going to happen because they don't have that time given to them either in the day. And I think that that's, again, is a funding issue from the state of Arizona. We do have a wellness policy. We do also have a wellness committee. I can tell you that we do have parent representation for most of our learning communities. I still need parent participation from Arcadia and Coronado. I do not have, so if there's anybody who wants to be on the wellness committee from the Arcadia or Coronado complex, please let me know. It would be awesome. The wellness committee, it makes sure that our wellness guidelines meet the federal regulations, but we're also looking at making sure that we look at the whole child, whole healthy and school environment, and it's not just food service. In fact, that food service is this much of it. It might be the social emotional, it might be the counseling, it's physical education, it's air quality, it's all, it's curriculum, nutrition ed, all of that in this wellness policy that's required. And this year we're in assessment year. In fact, we have our next meeting, our first one for this school year will be on October 2nd. And so we will be going over the assessment we're going to do this year to see where we stand and where we need our work, to guide the committee on where our work is. So we do have school wellness partnerships. We have schools that are part of the U.S. Healthier U.S. Schools Challenge, Fuel Up 360. We have the Blue Watermelon Project, which does like that chef in the garden and chef in the classroom. I always say support a school garden. We have the U of A Maricopa County Cooperative Extension, the Smarter Lunchroom Movement. I'm going to skip down. We're supportive of all aspects of wellness, but I want to talk about Blue Zone Scottsdale. How many of you know about Blue Zone Scottsdale? Okay, you're going to know about Blue Zone Scottsdale soon. So how many of you even know about Blue Zones? Dan Buettner, top right, National Geographic Explorer, looked at the 5 areas of the world where it had a higher proportion of people to live past 100. And he wanted to know why. So they looked at their culture, they looked at their diet, they looked at their communities, they looked at everything about it, and they said, why can't we recreate that other places? So that's what City of Scottsdale has actually, and Honor Health, are working with Blue Zones to make Scottsdale a Blue Zone city. So it's in the very infant stages of it. And I would say we've had our presentations, and then we've had our first steering committee meetings. And Rachel and I were just at the food systems meeting to set food policies in Scottsdale. And it's not just for schools. It would be for food policies around hunger, around aging, food deserts that are actually in Scottsdale because they do exist. And then also, if you look at Nick Buettner, who's Dan's brother, he actually came to our nutrition services all-employee meeting. I asked Blue Zone Scottsdale, I'm like, will you guys come and present to our employees because we're going to start doing some Blue Zone entrees, Blue Zone sides, a lot of really healthy, low-fat, whole foods type items. Like, I want to get our staff on board. And she goes, well, let me see. I'm sure we can come out and talk. And then she calls and she goes, by the way, National is sending Nick Buettner to talk to your people. I'm like, they do realize it's like 140 people, right? This is not an auditorium. They're like, yep, he was amazing. Treated those people just like he was in front of, 2,000 people at Scottsdale Civic Center. It was fantastic, and it was probably one of the best presentations we've had. I would encourage you to look up there, Live to 100. It's on Netflix. It's a 4-part series on Blue Zones. I would encourage you to watch it. It's pretty fascinating. A lot of stuff you can just incorporate in your own lifestyle. I also want to talk about the face of hunger. I never, ever end a presentation without this. There's no face of hunger. If you think there's a face of hunger, there isn't. It could be your next door neighbor and you don't know it. Hunger exists in all schools in SUSD, not just in certain schools. I want to tell you that during the pandemic, our largest participating school in our pickups was not Yavapai, it was not Tonalea, it was not Tavon, it was Redfield up north. We had more people picking up food up north than we did in our southern areas. And I think that that says a lot. You don't know when food insecurity is going to hit. Think about the pandemic. People lost jobs. People lost their businesses. You don't know what. They might live in a $3 million house driving a Mercedes, but you don't know what just happened to that family. You don't know, did somebody become ill and they can no longer work? You don't know that. And a lot of times people don't want to tell you their story. 1 in 5 children in Arizona struggle with food insecurity. That is absolute fact and absolute data, so let that sink in. 1 in 5. So that's why we do every program possible. People will say to me all the time, you're so low, free, and reduced in Scottsdale. Why do you do suppers? Well, we're going to do it where we can. Where we qualify for those meals, we are going to do them because we don't know what's going on with students outside of our schools. Our mission is to make sure that every child has everything they need to make sure that they learn at the highest peak of efficiency every single day. I mean, I'm looking at Margaret here because I know that's like her goal. It's all of our educators too. We work together to make sure kids learn. It's not just about what they're learning in the books. It's so much between counselors, food service, our teachers, our administrators, we all work together. So marketing. So I was just gonna simply just say follow us on, and this is, you can tell where I'm old. I asked Rachel, I'm like, oh, hurry, can you put me together a slide for this? Because I need to put something on follow us on Facebook, and I couldn't remember all of our handles. And of course, she put X. I'm like, isn't that Twitter now? I mean, would never have remembered that. I would have had the old little bird for Twitter. So she's all up in with the times. But here, follow us. We do have all our social media presence. It took us years to get that. For a long time, the district would not allow for anybody, any department, to have their own Facebook or social media pages. So that's one of our first things. We thought it's hard to market if you don't have that, right? So that's our first thing we've got is this. Now it's going out and trying to figure, okay, how do we get this out to the masses? It's our first year that we are not severely understaffed, so that's one of our big focuses this year is how do we market our program better? So do we have a marketing plan? No. Are we going to start a marketing plan? Yes. It's just, you need the staff to be able to do it, and we just didn't. We simply, half of our office was out serving food every day, all day, last year. And we don't have to do that this year. So exciting. In fact, they're here. It would only have been me here otherwise. So yes, and any help, any ideas people have for marketing, if you're like marketing gurus out there, we will take it because that is not we're food service people. Mm-hmm. But if I have a greater participation, the more I can support the cost of more employees. Because you have to have a fixed number of employees at a site no matter what. And if your participation's not great at that site, it's not very efficient and you're not really doing really good. So if we could end up increasing that participation, we could bring in more employees, more points of sale to get those kids out. Like I'd love to have carts all over high schools. We used to have that back then. Our high schools used to have 10 to 15 employees. I think we're like 3 to 5, if we're lucky. And I'd like to see more employees, but I've got to have more participation. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, and you got to be ready and locked and loaded, ready to go when that participation starts to go up. Interesting. She said that kids didn't know that they could pay with cash. That's interesting. Yeah. That's actually a really good point because it's something we probably never thought about. Think about it, it was probably ingrained in everybody. You use cash, you can do this. The pandemic hit, everybody was free, the whole world fell apart. And we've got kids who have never, ever, ever had to even pay for a school meal until last year. They were second graders. You know, so something, so if we could write that down, something about like, I think that's good, yes.
Like at our school, our administrators make sure that they tell all the parents at the beginning of the year that if your kid shows up and there's no money on the account, they don't have cash, they're not gonna go hungry, they'll get a lunch.
That's true. So if a student comes through and they don't have cash, do you remember the old years of giving an alternative meal? We don't do that anymore. It just charges to the account. We say that we have, and you know, I have a room full of people here that I trust. We have our policy that says they have 5 days of charging in an elementary. We're never gonna take a meal away from a kid. They're still gonna get it charged to their account even if it's more than 5 days. I don't like to say that like in our policy outside to everybody, because then you have nobody who pays, and all of a sudden you're sitting on some schools, literally last year had $350,000 worth of debt in one school year. We had 15,000. That wasn't so bad. We're sitting at, in the first, 6 weeks, we are at how much? 5,400 in 5 weeks. We started with nothing. Because we also have a Feed It Forward on our link portal that somebody can go in and donate, even if it's like $1 here or $10 here, to be able to pay towards student account balances. And we clear them at the end of the year. We don't do it during the year because you don't want to pay somebody who was like, oh, I forgot to send my check, I'm going to load tomorrow. We had $11,000 in donations last year. So I think that was really pretty impressive. That's through the Link Connect. Mm-hmm. They can go in debt. Yeah, that's not something I like to say out loud really a lot because sometimes it's the people who don't need to go in debt will go completely in debt and just quit paying. But yeah, we will never, and the student's never going to hear, do you know how much you owe? They're not even allowed to discuss that. So we send letters and we're hoping to get the text up and going because the district went to a new text format soon that we do, because most people will respond by text better than email. I know I do. So you can choose how to do your donations. You can choose to say, I want it for a specific school. It could be your home school, or it could be like a school that you just have a particular heart for. It could be, I want to just pay off the students who are now free but owe from before they applied, because you still owe that money before you apply. You could do that, or you could just say anywhere. And what we do is we look at what is the oldest account number, because they tend to be the kids that are about to age out, like our seniors that are going to go. So we don't want them to leave us with some debts. We'll pay those first. And then we pay all, and also what we look at first are our students who are now free, but they owe money. We will clear those. And then we just start going by the age of the student ID, because it's a numerical order. So there's really no, oh, this kid looks like they owe more, or we like this one. It's just simply by looking at those numbers. We found a way to do it that it's fair and equitable to all. But you can very specifically say, I want it for this particular school only if you want. Yes? Well, so the free and reduced kids by name, we are not allowed to provide that information. It is not known, and it is actually carries a jail term and a financial hit to anybody who provides that. It's called overt identification, and it's not allowed by the federal government. So we'll get that. We'll ask, I mean, even people mean well. Like Title I was saying, hey, can you give us the names of the people who haven't reapplied for this year? We'd like to help you by calling them. We're like, I'd love to, but what that's saying is they didn't reapply. It kind of indicates that they probably applied, and we can't do that. So no, we don't give those free and reduced information out. However, we can't even internally, I can't even give it to Margaret Cerna, who's in charge of our executive director of elementary education, can give it to her. Our CMAR department does have it because they do tie that data to testing data, but only for data purposes. Yes.
Scottsdale is very fortunate that we have the grant from the state where we have social workers or counselors at the schools. Also, our Title I schools have community specialists, and our community specialists have the heartbeat of the community.
They do.
They know when our kids are hurting, when a family's hurting, and they're there for those support. And I'll tell you, the face of hunger almost made me cry because there is no face of hunger. There is also what I believe building relationships within our school so that we feel when our kids need us. We feel when our teachers.
No, all schools.
All our schools have a counselor or a counselor or social worker. Right. And then our Title I schools have a dedicated community specialist. And then our two northern complexes have a community specialist that they share. Yeah. And remember, there's a poverty, there's also the financial poverty, but there's the poverty of attention, there's poverty of love, there's a poverty of physical space, there's all different kinds of poverty. Now we're just talking, or lack of, we're talking about food, financial, but we are aware of different needs of our kids, and we are so blessed in Scottsdale with the resources we have.
Also, to the free and reduced approval letter, they can choose to share that with whoever they want. And there are a lot of times we'll get those phone calls like, "Hey, this person's looking for support," or "There's this." We're like, we'll email them the letter right away. Even the student will email the letter too, and they can give it to whoever they want to. We cannot provide it directly.
You mentioned reduced was 3%. What are the percents for free and
Okay, so right now it's 24% for free, 3% for reduced, and then the rest would be what? Now you're gonna ask me to do math. 63%, 73, right? God, you're making me like all nervous up here. I like doing math, but the majority of our students are. Like, I know, well, when the executive director of elementary education is now writing it
I
down.
was a kindergarten teacher.
So we're 27% combined free and reduced. Right now, 3% of that is reduced. So 63, so this would be 73, right? 73% of our students, yay! 73% of our students are paid. I can tell you our neighboring district, Creighton, who borders us right along that 44th Street area, Creighton Elementary is right now going to move all of their schools to 100% free. Next year, they're going to go to CEP, and most of their schools are in the 90 percentile. They have one, the Biltmore Prep, that's in the 40 percentile. But they, it's very different depending on the district. And people will say to us all the time, this is an interesting, I'm probably going way over my time. People say to us all the time, but you're Scottsdale, you can afford to do that. I'm like, no, we're Scottsdale, we can't afford to do that, because if you are in a high free and reduced district, the amount of federal funding you get at so many different levels, not just food service, and they all qualify for all the equipment grants, they get so much more money. Their reimbursement rate is much higher than what I get for our paid reimbursement rate combined with our paid, like the cash from the student. So it's interesting to us that it's harder in an affluent area to make ends meet in a school district. Of the enrollment. Mm-hmm.
And it has more, free and reduced lunch has more to do than just food.
Yes.
I mean, also a child can qualify for athletic fees, academic fees.
They have to provide that letter. And they tell them that. They tell all the students that, hey, if you receive free and reduced, you can provide the letter. It's up to you, and then they provide it. And we get a lot of calls. Ask Amy over there and Cindy. They get a lot of the phone calls. Or people coming in, can we have a copy of our letter? Because they don't know what happened to it. And that's what our first few weeks are, right? That and why is my child in the negative? Well, they bought a bag of pretzels. Oh, Yeah, what's a brookie? Oh yeah. So pandemic EBT is something that so it's a summer food um, electronic benefits transfer is what it is. It's basically like the old school food stamps that they would get during the summer when they have no access to food. And that was born out of the pandemic, but it is still remaining, and it will be a thing that happens from now on. If those students, if you apply for those, you actually get money loaded on a PEBT card for summer food, which is weird that they load it and give it to you in October after summer, but because you didn't have access to food during the summer. And that comes through the Department of Economic Security. Yes. Oh, well, great. Probably because we have people to actually make it this year. So thank you. And you know what? I have to tell you, it's our goal to get back to a lot more like fresh prepared, more of our scratch type items, less, for the pandemic and even right after because of staffing, you saw so much prepackaged in wrapper type foods for variety of reasons. I mean, pretty obvious to you, a lot would be staffing and a lot would be because we were in a pandemic and you didn't want open foods. But now that move to get back to being able to prepare it properly, you're not like hurrying up and throwing it in the oven right beforehand and you only have 2 people working so you can't watch it and so it gets a little burned and yes. Oh. I'll speak to 10 parents. We'll come. So we've talked about that. It's on. So part of marketing, I guess I should have brought that up. We have talked about that, doing the videos of like what our lines look like, because you don't know like what all's actually on. Oh yeah, I don't even know how to do it. All I know is I get somehow I get sucked into TikTok, but I don't know how to make anything on there. Oh, do we? That's good. Right. Well, I love to hear when something's working, but also tell us when it isn't because we're here to help get this going. Also, just know that we are Team Awesome. This is where we can be reached. It's also going to be on this paper. I'll have it in the back there. And I think we've already hit our questions. And yes, strawberry and we have a banana are available to come to your schools if you want them. Oh, so yeah, School Lunch Hero Day is always in May, and it was May 5th last year, so it's going to be that Friday of that first week of May. I'll send out an info. I'll send that out. And I know I went really long. Sorry.
Thank you. Well, you said I had an hour. I hit that.
I'm afraid to touch it because it does go in and out.
Okay, so we are going to have brief executive board updates today because we still are going to hear from Margaret Cerna about something really cool. Okay, so here's our budget update. We've only had, the only thing that's different from what you guys saw last month is we have our email recurring subscription and our business license fee hit the bank account. Okay, upcoming events. We are gonna have our next general meeting right here on Wednesday, October 18th at 6 o'clock in the evening. The topic will be the Student Code of Conduct. This will be a panel. We have administration representatives from middle school, from high school. We're working on getting special education in elementary, and we will also, I can't remember who the other one was. I think that's it. Oh yeah, we're gonna have district council as well. Okay, we are also having another PTO roundtable on, that's a Wednesday, I think. Whatever day of the week November 1st is. That'll also be in the evening. It'll be here at 6:30, right here in this room. Okay, so now we don't have any other updates. Our committees are still getting going. Slower start this year than other years. Okay, so now we're going to hear from Margaret Cerna about sister schools.
Okay, let's see. I need to get my little PowerPoint. I'm going to be quick. I think we need to go back to the regular, and it's on the corner, they said. Sister schools, there we go. Yay. Yeah, where do I do? Right here from beginning. Hello, everybody. I think I've been in Scottsdale 26 years now, and I think I know a lot of you from within being at your school and whatever. So anyway, welcome. It's kind of been a dream of mine since I began as executive director of elementary schools to bring back our Scottsdale Unified School District sister schools. And I have a good friend, Laura, where is she? Right here. We keep talking about it, and we did it. And then we brought on another partner in crime that is out there passing out the handouts, Brian. And so we'd like to propose, I believe in partnerships. I believe in family. I believe in what is the Hillary Clinton, it takes a village to raise a child. I think when you look at all that, we are looking at starting our sister schools so that we can come back to being the Scottsdale School District community, learning community that supports each other. If we want to start out small, it's better to start small and go big. I met with all the well, first of all, I want to thank the committee. Both of you raise your hands again, all three of us. And I'm hoping that some of you will start joining us. So I met with the principals, the elementary, middle schools. We haven't met with the high schools. Everybody's on board. So we went through, asked the principals to kind of look at what schools they might be interested in supporting each other. And just to give you a little bit of a background, probably about 15, maybe even more, 15, 16 years ago, we started a sister school, and it went and it was really just the elementary schools. It was very, very strong. We're going to talk about that. And I was a principal at Tavon Elementary at the time. Darlene Johnson was the principal at Desert Canyon Elementary School. And do you know that that sister school partnership is still going and going strong? So we kind of did a little history, digging on the history, see what schools were together. We know that Navajo was with Cherokee. We know that Sequoia was with Yavapai. So we've tried to reestablish some of those. So with that, if we can, oh, how do I do this? I just moved. Yeah. There we go. Ah. So we'd like to start with the elementary schools, move on to the K-8 schools, and then the middle schools, and then the final is Coronado. Now, what was your question again? What the benefit of the sister school is to, first of all, get our kids to know that we are Team One. It doesn't matter if you go to Yavapai, it doesn't matter if you go to Hohokam, if you go to Copper Ridge, we are all part of the Scottsdale Unified School community. And we want our kids to start building those friendships. We want our parents to start building those communities, and that's how we started it. Originally, it was started by a group of moms that were interested in some of our more, for lack of a better word, affluent schools to support some of our other schools that may have needs. But then that started growing into friendships. And I'm only going to describe really about what happened between Desert Canyon and Tavon. Well, it was obvious that Desert Canyon might have more resources to support Tavon. And it's kind of easier to think about what the school that has the most resources, what they can do for the other schools. It's hard for the schools that aren't rich with resources, what can they do for the other schools? So, for example, during the holidays, Desert Canyon, well, let's go back to September. Desert Canyon had a school supply drive. And they, one third grade sponsored another third grade. Then we went on to Thanksgiving, Desert Canyon. They collected turkeys and holiday meals. Then it came to Christmas and they sponsored families. That was easy, not easy, but those are things that you can think of. But the real challenge was, what could Tavon do for Desert Canyon? And one of my favorite things that we did is when Desert Canyon would have their big carnival, we rented a bus, a school bus, and I would drive out. Well, not the bus driver. We took out 30 parents to go and work at the carnival, so that all the PTO parents could enjoy the carnival with their kids. Because all of us know, I mean, all of you in here, you probably work those carnivals. You're busy selling the tickets, running the booths, doing all this, and your kids are running wild. They don't have the parents. So it was so amazing when we got there. Our parents ran the booths, the food booths, the rides, whatever, and those parents could do that. I also had a group at Tavon called Las Mamacitas, and they all got together and made a really nice holiday meal for the teachers of tamales and pan de huevo and all that good stuff, and took it out there. We also sent our choir out there, and they had a field trip where the choir went to Desert Canyon, and they sang during lunch and whatever. And then Desert Canyon went to Tavon. We had a 5th grade baseball game. So those are things that sister schools do. Yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You know what else grew from the sister schools, now that you're talking about that? As the kids from Desert Canyon and from Tavon, as they got older and they were in the Boy Scouts and they needed to do their Eagle projects, we had kids that were coming from Desert Mountain doing it at Tavon. We had Arcadia kids going out and doing a desert project or whatever. So it's all about creativity. And my purpose here and our committee's purpose here is to do the marketing, to try and recruit everybody to do it. But it's going to be parent councils, PTO reps, to join forces and build it. And I'll tell you one thing, it is, to this day, Darlene Johnson is still a dear friend of mine, because not only did it become sister schools, we became sister principals. And I know that there were some lifelong friendships built with the kids. There was 2 kids that one of them went on to play football at Desert Mountain, the other one at Arcadia, and they met on the field and they flipped the coin. You know, when the one rare time that we played. So anyway, part of the things that we wanted to do here is brainstorm, like just for 5 minutes at your table, and say school A, school B. And this is, I want to talk, these are all the wonderful things that we do. But also, one thing that I learned, we have to be very sensitive about the feelings of each one of the schools. We don't want anybody to be known as the poor school or the rich school or the affluent school or the needy school. This is about building family. And we had a board meeting the other day, and something was mentioned that some people weren't very happy about spreading a family atmosphere. Well, I'll tell you, I'll go to my grave fighting that. Because my granddaughter, and I'm future grandbaby that's coming, I want them to go to a school where neighbors are watching for them. I want them to go to a school where teachers love them. I want to hear my granddaughter come and say, my teacher, she's so beautiful, she looks like Britney Spears. And I said, oh, okay. And then I saw the teacher. She was the furthest thing from Britney Spears I've ever seen. But I knew that my daughter loved her. And she was loved by her teacher. When I was a principal, I went to a workshop and they talked about at-risk children. And there was a couple of questions you would ask the child when they'd walk in to the classrooms, or to your office because they were in trouble. The first question I would ask them, who in the world could not live without you? And what do you think they answered? Mom and dad. And you know what? Some of my real little stinkers would say, no one. Well, we don't want that. We want everyone to know that we are happy they're there. We know that they want them to come to school and know they belong. Another question we would ask our kids is, if you didn't have your mom or your dad and you were in trouble, give me the name of 3 people you could call for help. And your kids that are well-adjusted and everything, boom, boom, boom. My teacher, my pastor, my neighbor. Our kids that were in crisis, I don't know. So we're trying to build that community where our kids know that they are supported, they are loved. And somehow we've moved out of that since pandemic. I think that sister schools is a way to start bringing that. I want for our kids to say, I have a place where I belong. I have people that I can count on. And this is a start. So if you look over here at your list, it has the name of the principal that has agreed. It has the school and then the sister school that they will be connected with. We're going to start with elementary first, and then we're going to move on to the middle school. So your charge is to go back and sell the program at your school. And let me move to the next one. These are our sister school committee. We have Laura, we have Brian, myself, Melissa Sackos. She is my counterpart. I'm in charge of the elementary schools. Melissa, who is one of the most incredible human beings you'd ever meet, she's in charge of middle and high school. And then we have district, his young man named Casey Shuck, and he's in communications and partnerships. Partnerships, I forgot my parentheses. Anyway, but he's leaving us. He's been lured away by the city of Phoenix. And our SUSD school PTA, PTO, it's up to you to build it at your school. Just go ahead. Yes, let me explain why. I talked to the high school principals. I wanted them to be on it, and their answer is they have community service, they have honor society, they have athletics. They already are doing too much and to put this on them. But what we did do is I talked to the middle schools. And if you look at the middle schools, we kind of put them with someone. But the one school that we did put on there is Coronado High School. And some of the middle schools will be supporting Coronado High School. But that's in the future. Right now, we're starting with elementary. So just a show of hands or a thumbs up, down, middle, what do you think your interest in your school might be? Absolutely. It's going to be up to you guys. We, the committee, we're building it, and you will come and you will build it. We, after we go back and all of you talk with your PTOs, make sure you're on board. You know your principal's already on board. My suggestion would be that you have one person on your board at your PTA that's in charge of the sister schools. Use the community specialists, use the counselors, use the what's that else? Social workers. There are a lot of them that can provide there. And I'm going to provide you help, but it is so rewarding. But remember, we have to make sure it's a mutual gain for everyone. And so right now, I know we're short on time. Where's my helper here, real quick? If at your table, or you can go to a table, if you could just discuss maybe 3, 4, or 5 ideas, jot them down on this sheet. I'll collect it, and then when we do our launch, we will go ahead and have at least a base and some ideas. 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Can I have one? Yeah. You're just brainstorming ideas what you can do for each other. Food drives, supply drives, baseball games, any idea that you feel that my sister schools might do together. Come on, guys, you're not off the hook. I'm trying. I want to get these partnerships going, So brainstorm some ideas for me.
Sequoia. So we have Yavapai.
So I'm not personally familiar with any of the schools because my kids only go through the schools here. But yeah. So like in terms of even location, but to the point regarding like volunteer hours, I think that's huge and that
Oh, yeah.
is really important, especially at the high school level.
Really? Where are they? Yeah. Well, perfect. Yeah,
So
that is
like
a
going in, talking to parents, saying this is how you set up a 501c3, right? This
Right.
is how you create bylaws. This is
Yeah.
how take
Because
ours
like
as a
all that
reference.
PTO stuff, I mean, we're APT. It drives me nuts. I'm like, can we all just be called one thing? But I mean, that's why I love the roundtables because sharing ideas. If it's working at our school, it can work at your school. Or what's like, I mean, we should all be sharing ideas. Right. Totally. Right. Right.
Well, I think it's helpful that Margaret gets the buy-in from the principals because then the principals are plugged into for
Yeah.
the people in the community.
Okay, having this lady on the team, I expect that list to be full.
We're going, Margaret.
So, I mean, I think, reaching out to the principals because principals know who the players are in
Right.
the specific school.
Do they have a community specialist full time at Yavapai? Yes. Okay. So let's contact them. Because I know, like, Tom, Tom is at, he's housed at Sequoia, but I know he splits his time between a few other campuses.
they're not affluent, but they're not needy schools either. So we put them together. It's not so much about the monetary thing, but they can share visions. They can, their band, their strings can.
That's what they both want to intuitive.
Yes. Well, I mean, they can. I don't know. I'm not. It's not me. I don't know what people's budgets are. I don't know anything. And
Are there
everybody.
representatives I'm not at Lagoon anymore.
I know you're in Anasazi, but you're at Anasazi, and Anasazi's with.
Oh,
Yeah. So.
it's also
Okay.
I know.
I love Anasazi. I call that my Zen school. Hey, let me tell you. What's that did you say? What's that?
The videos are great.
Well, after last year, it better.
After the last couple of years.
Oh,
Good.
they haven't called me. We were laughing because somebody was talking about how rough it is at schools and SROs and all this. I said, excuse me. I said, I have to have an SRO and SPD at a PTO election.
I know.
But you know what? I have to tell you, they
I'll
were so wonderful.
give you the background.
And I feel like I'm part of it.
Do you know Christina Galaska?
Yes, I love her.
So we're swim team moms together. I'll be with her all weekend.
Okay, can we kind of, you guys
Yeah,
are having
she's
way
awesome.
too much fun.
She's awesome.
To be continued. Can I collect your sheets